I'd just like to briefly discuss whether Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut can be seen in any way to criticise the class system. The reason for having these kinds of chats is that it's possible that your exam questions, or one of your exam questions, might ask you about how society is criticised, or ask you to talk about anyone who's been marginalised in society, or criticism of hierarchies, or ways in which minority groups are represented, things like that. So it might be worthwhile just to have a brief think as to whether the class system, and basically I'm talking about the US class system during the 20th century, whether that's critiqued in any way in this book. And I think you can say that yes, in some senses it is. Just a couple of little points that you could probably take and develop more if you wanted to pursue this sort of understanding of the book. First of all, in our edition of the book we've been using, I'd point out on pages 86 and 87 where Billy Pilgrim is a prisoner of war, and he's in a terrible situation along with many others. He's been moved from prison camp to prison camp in a train, in a box car, crammed in with many other people, not enough food, cold, miserable. And he meets a former hobo. A hobo is sort of a person who's a bit of an outcast from society and wanders from place to place, whether it's by choice or whether they just are forced out of society in this world, or forced out of the workforce or whatever. I'm not sure, but maybe a hobo can be seen as an outcast or a victim of the class system. This hobo has obviously become a soldier and is fighting in the war and has become a prisoner of war. And along with Billy, he's experiencing these horrible conditions. And he's surprisingly positive. On page 87, we have the lines, "I've been hungrier than this," the hobo told Billy. "I've been in worse places than this. This ain't so bad." He's in a horrible situation. In a foreign country, maltreated, not given enough food, shelter, he's cold, miserable. Yet he says he's been in worse situations. Has he? If he has, if we're to take this hobo seriously, he's saying that his experience as an outcast from society in the United States, as a poor person wandering from place to place, has been absolutely awful. So awful that his experiences as a prisoner of war in Germany are supposedly not so bad. There aren't, as I read this book, I find there aren't that many examples of people who are poor and cast out of society, or at the bottom layer of the hierarchy. There aren't too many. So in that sense, they are maybe marginalised even in the book itself. The book, by focusing on Billy, who is clearly a fairly wealthy member of the middle class after the war, we tend to see these people who are comfortable, they have money. Billy is very wealthy. He owns more than one optometry clinic. He's constantly giving jewellery to his wife, Valencia. He gives her a diamond, he gives her a sapphire. There's their 18th anniversary, there's a huge party with all the wealthy people there who are optometrists. And that's, if you're an optometrist, you're high up in society. And this party is really interesting, the 18th anniversary, because there's a barbershop quartet. You know what a barbershop quartet is people in those funny hats and stripy shirts harmonising and singing. And there's a barbershop quartet made up of optometrists who sing the song on page 224, 11 cent cotton, 40 cent meat, how in the world can a poor man eat? In other words, they're singing a song about poverty and taking on the persona of people who are suffering and they haven't got enough to eat. And as you can imagine, a barbershop performance, fairly jokey, in playful way. Perhaps there's some fake sincerity. It talks about the sickly harmonies and the chords that are just kind of wrong, which sometimes happens in barbershop singing, doesn't it? You get these uneasy chords which resolve into very sweet chords which are almost too sweet. I suppose what I'm trying to say is this. These optometrists are so detached from the reality of poverty that for their entertainment they sing a song about how hard it is to live, to eat for a poor man. And it's all very detached. And barbershop music being so playful and carefree, it shows the upper middle class here totally disconnected from the reality of poverty in the world. And in this scene, for various reasons, Billy Pilgrim feels quite uneasy, awkward, almost ill. Perhaps some of it could be because somewhere deep inside he, along with us, feel uncomfortable with this idea of poverty as being the subject of a playful song in a world where poverty is in reality so horrible and so terrible. So maybe by showing poor people as marginalised in the text, maybe by showing the middle class and the upper middle class as being so comfortable but disconnected from the reality of hardships that poverty causes, perhaps this novel can be seen as a criticism of the class system.